I just want to share this with you. Coaching is mad. Coaching is mad. And in my definition is mad. It's M-A-D. It makes a difference. And it makes a huge difference in people's lives. Here's just some. The goal of coaching is the goal of good management, to make the most of an organization's valuable resources. That's from the Harvard Business Review. Right? Here from Metrics Global. Now you can look all of this up on the internet, these organizations. The bottom line, coaching produced a 539% return on investment and significant intangible results. Now there's two types of results, tangible and intangible. Tangible you can measure, money, how many people go sick, how many people turn up for work on time, what profits you make. Intangible is to do with people's feelings. How do they feel at work? Their level of happiness, their level of well-being. And you can actually measure that now. So, there's a famous review done just a few years ago called the Manchester Review, and they surveyed over 300 companies. And they found it delivered an average of 5.7 times the return on investment. For every dollar spent on coaching, they got nearly $6 back into the company. But this is where it gets interesting. Executive productivity increased by 53%. So the executives were 53% more effective. The organizational strength grew by 48%. Quality improvements, 48. This I like. Customer service improvements to their customers went up by 39%. This is a big one. Retaining executives, 32%. I'll give you an example of that. I go to India quite a bit. We have a big organization in India. I've been going for many years. And I know I've got some good friends. And within India, which is a country that the economy is just exploding. I mean, it's just going berserk right now. And there is a war on for top talent. And there is only two ways of getting great management. Number one, you create your own within your organization, which takes many years. You grow, you train, you nurture. Or number two, you steal. No, I don't mean steal. I mean you headhunt, you recruit. But that's what it is. You're taking talent from another organization. And in India right now, at the very top level, the senior executives are earning more money than the same senior executives in America or Western European countries because of the, the demand and supply. And a good example, a friend of mine called Vikas Vikram. I'm great friends with him, right? And every time I go to India, we meet. He's in Mumbai. And going back about 4 years, I met Vikas and I said, he was with a company called Vertex. I said, how are things at Vertex? And he said, I don't know. I left 6 months ago. I'm now with Tata. I said, are you? Yeah, he said, they headhunted me. I'm now in this senior position today. It's going really well. I said, oh, that's really good. That's great. And I was back in Mumbai about 6 months later. I phoned up Vic, I emailed him, we met for lunch. I said, how are things at Tata? He said, I don't know. I'm with Coca-Cola. They headhunted me. I've got an even more salary, higher position, better perks. I went, oh, great. I was back again 8 months later. How are things at Coke? No idea. He said, I've no idea. I'm with Mafoy. Mafoy, the huge leasing, financing company, the massive. I went, oh. And he's brilliant. He is just dynamic. His teams love him. And that's what's happening. Now, if you are a large organization and you have someone like him and you lose him, how much effort and energy and money to now replace him? And what do? How do you keep good people? Do you just keep giving them more money? Is that it? No, because there comes a level, there comes a point where money is no longer the deciding factor. It's how you feel about staying in the company. And this I love. Retaining executives who received coaching went up by 32%. Now, in money terms, what is that worth to a big company? A lot. So from direct reports to people to supervisors, the improvements went up 70%. Teamwork went up 67%. Working relationships between people at the same levels in different teams, because again, there is a danger, in not every company, but in some companies, people think, if I have the knowledge and the information, and I keep it to myself, I will have more power. But I don't want to share everything. Coaching helps to get rid of that fear. And this one, job satisfaction up 52%. Now, I've got slide after slide after slide here I could show you, but today's not the day for that. But we now have tools. We've got organizations have created measurement tools for both the tangible and intangible results. And the intangible are happiness, peace of mind, contentment at work, feeling good about the job, and so on. And they're all gone up because people having received coaching. One of the things I want to do now is talk about what I call spiritual coaching. But it's really about what coaches do with their clients and how we help those clients and how we engage with them and the changes we can help them to make in their life. All right? And I've just called it spiritual coaching because it is a very metaphysical thing. So, first of all, self-awareness. Who am I? What are my good? What are my bad points? What turns me on? What turns me off? There was a word written above a door in ancient Greece 4,000 years ago. The word was Gnosti, K-N-O-S-T-I, and it means know thyself. And it was written above the door of the Delphic oracle, the oracle at Delphi. And what was true for us as human beings 4,000 years ago was true 3,000, 2,000, 1,000, today, and always will be. Knowing yourself. The problem is people don't know themselves. And the world we live in today is encouraging people not to be themselves. It's encouraging them to be anything else. We see, and excuse me for my language and whatever, but, women, we see magazines, Hollywood movies, television, men are encouraged to dress a certain way, drive certain cars, and if you don't earn this amount of money, you are not significant. Women are made to feel bad if they're the wrong shape. They're meant to have smaller waists and bigger chests and different color hair, and it causes a lot of problems. Causes a huge amount of problems. And coaching helps people to understand exactly who you are and to become very comfortable with who you are. And that you don't have to be like anyone else. Do you understand me? You don't have to be. You are wonderful. You are beautiful. You are absolutely beautiful just as you are. And you don't need to change one little bit. But of course, if you watch television, if you watch Hollywood, magazines, They tell us we should change all the time. And that causes mental health issues. It causes stress. It causes financial problems. All sorts. It causes self-esteem issues. It causes confidence issues. It causes people to have lack of self-belief issues. And coaching helps in all of those areas. Number 2, being vision and value-led. Spiritually intelligent people usually want to serve something bigger than themselves. Two examples. Mother Teresa, Bill Gates. Okay? Completely different people. One of them had a vision of feeding starving children in Calcutta, and the other had a vision of putting a computer on the desk of everyone in the world. Both different, both okay. Coaching helps people to have a vision of who they could be. A vision of what they could be, what they could achieve, what they could do, what they could leave as a legacy. And it helps people to look at their life in a completely different way and to have a vision of who they could be. The capacity to face adversity and use it constructively, to own my weakness and learn from my mistakes. The word here in English is guilt. What's Bulgarian for guilt? Vina. Same as Romanian. So, guilt. And we all do it. We all do it. We have times in our life where you're driving your car, you're feeling happy, the radio is playing, and a song comes on the radio, and bang! It takes you back to something, a memory, something you don't feel good about, and you feel guilty. Has that ever happened to anyone? Or is it just me? It's only me, you know? And it takes you back, and you suddenly you suddenly feel, you know, oh, this guilt comes up. Well, I have some advice for you about guilt. Don't do it. Don't do it. It has no useful purpose. Well, it does. It has one. The purpose of guilt is to help us to learn. Help us to learn. So here's the thing. We should take from the past, learn from the past, so that we can invest that knowledge in the future, to make our future a better one. But what we shouldn't do is just keep reliving. So it's okay to be guilty, but just understand what it's there for. Learn from it and invest that to make your future a better one. There are so many people. Have you ever met people who are living in the past? Do you know anyone who is living in the past? Do you know anyone, maybe some of your friends or family, and when you meet them for coffee, the same subject keeps coming up again and again? Have you ever met anyone like that? Yeah, if you haven't, it's probably you. Okay. But you know, and quite not always, but quite often it's to do with relationships that didn't go well, you know, and people, they just can't break away from it. It's in their mind for years. They haven't moved on, and therefore they haven't grown. And this is what coaching helps us to do. To understand, to learn, to take from, invest in the future, and move forward. And I've got to tell you before we go, I am looking forward to the future so much. Do you know why? Because I'm going to spend the rest of my life there. And there is only one person on this planet that can really influence my future. And that's me. So we need to take responsibility and do what's right. Coaching helps us to do that. Being holistic, seeing the connection between all things. If people only knew the connection between all human beings. You could not think of hurting another human being. You couldn't think of it. It would be like hurting yourself. And yet, have you seen the news? There are groups of people all over the world trying to hurt other groups of people all over the world. We have a word for it in coaching. We say there is a disconnect. There is a huge disconnect out there. Because if people were truly connected, they couldn't hurt each other. And coaching teaches us, first of all, and you mentioned this earlier, sir, first of all, to be connected to ourselves, and then be connected to everyone else. The ability to refrain from things. People are constantly getting engaged in activities that do not do them any good. They are not empowering, they are disempowering. You've only got to look at people who are addicted to gambling, to alcohol, to this, to that. There's so many things, to gaming, to, you know. And it's easy to get sucked into that. And we need to be able, here's a good coaching question. How does this serve me? How does it serve me? And people don't ask themselves those questions. You know, here's something, bit of advice I'd like to give you. The quality of our life, your life, will be determined by the quality of questions we ask ourselves. Some people say, why me? Other people say, why not me? Why not? If he can do it, I can do it. You know, big difference. Big difference in the attitude. Coaching gives us that internal, in here, it's like courage to stand up and ask those questions. And it's not here. It's always in here. Harmlessness and compassion. The number one rule in coaching, numero uno, is do no harm. Do no harm. And the second rule is have compassion for everyone. You know, sometimes you meet people and they will do something or say something horrible. But you don't know what's going on in their life. You don't know what's happening. They're going through a terrible divorce. They have huge money worries. They have problems with their children. You don't know what's going on in their life. And sometimes people do things, you know. And it's not always like them. So we have to show compassion. Tolerance and the celebration of diversity. The person who is the same as me has got little to teach me. It's the person who is different to me is my teacher. I mean, can you imagine if we were all the same? That would be horrible, wouldn't it? It's lovely. It's wonderful that people are different. It makes life exciting. Field independence, standing against the crowd. This takes courage. This takes huge courage. When the rest of the world is going in this direction, and you are going in this direction. And it takes a lot of courage, a lot of heart. And coaching gives us the courage and the strength to stand up for what we believe in, our principles. You know, and it's not easy at all. The ability and willingness to ask questions. Now, You actually did this. All of us, when we were little children, like this, we constantly asked questions. Now, who here has got children? Anyone got? Yep. So, and you will know this. When your children are 2, 3, 4, 5, constantly asking questions. Why? You know? And suddenly you go, shut up. No, but no, sorry. But, you know, and it's lovely. And then we reach a point in our life where we make a decision subconsciously that in life it is easier to get along if you just go along. Just go along with things. And in every culture, we have phrases like, don't be a troublemaker, don't rock the boat, don't make waves, and we just conform. Do you know what I mean by that? And coaching teaches us to, no, let's ask questions. Because if we asked more questions and people had to justify why they did things, we again would live in a different world. And it takes courage to do that. And coaching gives us that strength. Spontaneity, flexibility, freedom, the passion to be, to know, to play, the quality of living in the moment. Coaching teaches us to appreciate the now, the moment. The majority of people either live in the past or they're thinking and planning for the future without appreciating the moment. Yeah? There's a book written by an Australian nurse. The book is called, I think it's The 5 Regrets. And for the last 20 years of her life, she was a nurse in a hospice where people are dying. Do you know what I mean by hospice? Yeah. And she looked after these men and women who were usually quite old, and they were dying. And she looked after them. And she wrote a book. And pretty much all of them, hundreds and hundreds of people, all different walks of life, they had 5 regrets. Not everyone had 5, but the total was 5. And it was usually, well, I tell you what no one had. No one ever said, I wished I spent more time in the office. No one. Right? That was never said. What people used to say was, I wished I spent more time with the people I loved. And the 2 saddest words in the world, the 2 saddest words are too late. So people said, I wished I'd spent more time with people I love. Other people said, I wish I took a few more risks, a bit more daring in my life. People said, I wished I danced more. Yeah? And there were other things as well. But it's a tiny, short book, The 5 Regrets. And coaching teaches us, to live in the moment and to appreciate the moment. I'm going to demonstrate a coaching model. It's called the coaching circle. This coaching model is aimed at a manager coaching his or her team. And it's designed to make them more efficient, more effective. But I want to tell you a story. Many years ago, before many of you were born, in the 1970s, there was a huge company called ICI. It still exists. It's a huge petrochemical refining and engineering organization. They have factories and refineries all over the world. They employed tens of thousands of people. and they were in financial difficulty, huge financial difficulty. They were about to go bankrupt, and they had all of these wages and salaries to pay of their staff at the end of the month. They had no money. Their suppliers had stopped supplying them because they were owed money. The banks had frozen their assets, and they had no more overdrafts. So they had no money, no supplies, thousands of people to pay, like 100,000 people, couldn't pay them salary. So the shareholders had a desperate meeting. What do we do? What do we do? And they brought in a man called Sir John Harvey Jones. And they brought him in as an emergency CEO. Please, please do something. And Sir John Harvey Jones came in, and he worked, and because of the strength of his personality, he went to meet the banks, and he got the banks to agree to give them like 1 month or 2 months worth of finance, that's all. Just a tiny bit to get over the next month. And then he took over that company, and he led it for the next 8 years. And he took it from rock bottom right up to the top. And he wrote a book, and he was quite famous, and he was interviewed. And I remember one interview on television he gave, and the reporter said, "Sir John, what was your technique? What was your big secret?" And this is what he said. He said, "Whenever one of my managers came to me with a problem, I never gave them an answer." Now think about that. Think about it. Normally in business, if you go to the boss or a manager and you say, "I have this problem, what do I do?" Instantly they would say, "Okay, what you do? I want you to do this, this and this." But he said, "Whenever one of my people came to me with a problem, I never gave them an answer." Then he said, "Who is to say my answer is the right one?" Wow. I've worked with managers in all parts of the world who are convinced that their answer is the right one. Yeah? But he said, "Who says my answer is the right one?" So he's the CEO, multi-billion-dollar organization, employs 100,000 people, and he's so humble. So answer number one, he said, if one of my people came to me with a problem, I never gave them an answer. Number two, he said, "Who says my answer is the right one?" And then he said, if I, listen to the words, if I ever did make the mistake of giving an answer, all I have now done is create another problem. Wow. He calls it a mistake. If I ever did make the mistake of giving an answer, all I have now done is create another problem. We call this coaching. This is before coaching was understood in the way it is now. He was here, and he had thousands, and I mean thousands of managers under him, because there was over 100,000 employees in the company. He had managers at different levels, and he said, "I never gave an answer because my answer is not the right one, and if I did give an answer, I have just created another problem." This is what coaching is. Getting the individual to come up with their own answers. And what he did, he turned around to every one of his managers, hundreds, at all levels, and he came into the company and he said, "I now am giving 100% of my trust in you to do the right thing for your teams and your division. I believe in you, and I trust you, and I will support you. And he basically empowered hundreds and hundreds of managers. Now, did they all make the right decision? No, obviously not. Obviously, not everyone. Some got things wrong, but that wasn't the point. The majority got it right, and the company rose like a volcano. It's a famous story. So that is what we would call coaching before it was recognized as coaching. That was in the 1970s. So now I want to let me finish before we go on to the next section with this. So finishing off the spiritual coaching bit, I believe, this is me, my feelings, so I believe that human beings need attention. Why? To honor our deep-seated need for significance. As humans, we need to feel significant. It's very important and recognized, but we need to feel significant. And it is okay to want to have a little bit of attention focused on you. There's nothing wrong with that. People need appreciation. You know, imagine you go to work one day, and you're at work, and you do something, and the senior manager comes along and said, "Nadia, did you do that?" And you say, "Oh, I did." And he says, wow, I am so proud of you. Well done. That is magnificent. Thank you. And he walks away. How would you feel? You'd feel good, wouldn't you? You'd feel good when someone shows appreciation for what you do. And if that happened early in the morning, I promise you would feel good all day. But we live in a world where we are not encouraged to show appreciation for each other all the time. And there is nothing wrong, there's nothing wrong in wanting a little bit of appreciation for what you do. And humans need appreciation. And finally, we need affection. But I don't mean affection, what I mean is love. But you might have noticed it doesn't start with an A. So my triple A formula, you know. So I suppose we could use French, amour, maybe. But this is what we need. And this is what coaching does. When a coach is with a client, the coach will focus 100% attention on that person. When a coach is with a client, we appreciate them, and we appreciate them in two ways. Number one, for who they are, and number two, for everything that they could be. If you think of a tree, a big oak tree, that oak tree started life as an acorn that size. And it grew into a mighty oak. So within the acorn lies the potential for a mighty oak tree. And the same is true of every human being. So a coach sees them as they are and appreciates them for who they are, but also we will appreciate them for who they could be and their ability to build and grow and develop and create and to be all that they can be. And we show affection. Now, what do I mean by that? Remember I said at the beginning, what is it you need to be a good coach? You need to love people. And I'll tell you now, it is impossible, if you don't love people, it is impossible to sit down with a human being, to look them in the eye, to give them complete attention, to give them complete appreciation if you don't like people. You can't do it. You can fake it, but you can only fake it for so long. Yeah. That's why the main ingredient to be a good coach is you've got to love working with people. Yeah.